Be mindful of who you accept feedback from. People will give you feedback, but they won't always have your best interests at heart, and they are biased and they haven't got the experience that you have. You have to set a force field around yourself and decide who you will allow into that sphere, who you will allow to give you feedback. No matter the situation, I always feel better after a long run, a hot shower and washing my hair. Eating more fruits and vegetables is always a good thing, and you will definitely feel better for it.
To your body, because it is your home for life. And through my work in A&E, I have learnt over the years that there are people that would give anything to have this level of health and vitality. Things can happen in an instant that change your levels of health or your abilities to do things with your body. And I feel like I owe it to those people in some sense, or I owe it to my future self, who will probably have some ailments and have some aches and pains that I don't have now, to look after my body and to use it to its best ability. So moving my body regularly, getting outside into nature, and eating foods that are nutritious and that make me feel good are what my body deserves. And ultimately, I am happier when I look after my body well in this way.
Recognise that there is magic in a pause. When something makes you angry or frustrated or resentful, realise that sometimes the best thing you can do is just to take a deep breath, compose yourself, even sleep on it and come back the next day. Just really take a pause. And remember that you will never regret the mean comment that you didn't make. If you're having people over to your house, remember they don't want to be impressed. They're looking for connection, for comfort, and just to enjoy spending time with you.
Ask the question. The chances are everyone else is thinking the same question as you, but they're too afraid to ask it. Don't worry about looking stupid. Just go ahead and ask the question.
Phrase that Vince and I have found so helpful in our relationship is, do you want solutions or sympathy? So if one of us is coming to the other with a problem, or we just want to talk about something from our day, sometimes you just want to vent. And personally, that is normally what I want. I want to just come to Vince and basically just tell him all of the stuff, get it all off my chest. But him being an engineer, he wants to fix problems. So he often used to come back to me with answers to the things that I'm stressing about, when actually I just wanted a listening ear. And so what we ask each other is, do you want solutions or sympathy? And it helps so much for both of us. Another question that is really helpful is, if they come to you with a problem, to ask them, do you want to talk about it or do you want distraction? If they want to talk about it, really listen, let them get it all out. Once they've said everything you think they have to say, ask them what else. Be a good listener. Take photos with your friends and family, and actually be in photos as well. I feel so sad when I hear people saying that they hate having their photo taken, because there are memories and we have no idea how long we have left on this earth. You never know how much that photo might mean to you or somebody else in the future. So I am really glad that I started actually putting my photos into albums the old school way. I do one for every year, and around Christmas, New Year time, I look at all the photos from the year and I get them physically printed and put them in an album. It makes me so happy. Start journaling sooner. Journaling has changed my life. I know you don't want to hear it again from somebody, but it has helped me see patterns in my thinking. It's helped me work through emotions. It's helped me work through problems in my life. And being able to look back at the way that I was thinking about something when I was actually in the situation has been so valuable in my learning and in my emotional intelligence. Investing in sleep is always a good move. Buying a heated blanket for the winter. I wish I'd done this earlier. I have spent so many nights, especially in rented accommodation, in freezing cold student houses, struggling to get to sleep because I'm so cold. Buying a heated blanket was an absolute game changer. And when I say heated blanket, I actually mean like a heated undersheet thing. Absolute game changer. Put it on when you're getting ready for bed. You get into bed and it is toasty. So nice for the winter. And also, nice bed sheets. Such a good investment. It makes me so happy every single time I get into bed. And one of these bad boys, a really good eye mask with little indents in the back. so they don't touch your eyes, and it is totally blackout. Sleep is so important, and it's, as someone who's suffered with insomnia for a long time, I wish I had bought these things earlier. Whatever you do in life, give yourself a safety net. So emergency savings, making sure that you've got a nice little emergency fund for yourself, making sure you've got good insurance policies, always coming up with a plan B for if things don't go the way that you expect and want them to go. Taking things like portable chargers with you to places. You never know how useful this will be for not just you, but for other people around you. And never leave the house without water and snacks. I like to take a few dried dates and some nuts with me because you just never know when you're going to get peckish. I really wish that I had learnt earlier in life that there is no badge of honour for being overtired and overworking yourself. You know, in a career like medicine, that kind of mindset is encouraged. It is expected. And in fact, I've made a whole video about this, a whole video rant, so you can watch that up here. I'll link it up above. My life got so much better when I realised what was important to me, the standards that I would accept and not accept in my life, and then set those boundaries around me and set my life up so that I could come out of my overtired, overwhelmed and overburdened era and start to heal, stop feeling burnt out. I've really had to set those boundaries firmly and actually learn to relax in my downtime. That has been hard. Relax properly, really recharge my batteries and not feel like I constantly have to be productive, because I feel like that is something that is being peddled to our generation, that we just always have to be on. We always have to be doing something, making something, have something to show for even our downtime. And it's just not true. I wish I'd learned earlier that there is no badge of honour for being overtired and overworked. One of the most important things about becoming a confident adult is learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust your gut, to notice how you feel about certain things and to act accordingly, and realise that you don't need permission or approval from other people to make decisions. You have to learn to be able to do that yourself, and the first part of that is trusting your own intuition about things. Something that I found really powerful in my life in reducing my stress is finding out ways that I can reduce my decision fatigue. Basically working out ways that I just don't have to make as many decisions in a particular day. Especially when I'm busy, I'm tired, I'm overworked, I've had a long day in the emergency department, or just a lot going on in life. The last thing I want to be doing is making yet more decisions about things like what to have for dinner, what I should wear. These like tiny, inconsequential decisions. I want to make sure that I'm building good habits into my life, eating well, doing exercise and stuff like that. Try and build in habits, routines and systems that help me to, by default, live a good life. And so, for example, ways that I can reduce my decision fatigue, I try and make decisions when I'm feeling like awake and sprightly, plan my outfits the night before, or even like if I've got a big week, I'll plan them all at the weekend for the week ahead, so that when I'm busy in the week, I don't have to think about it. I will only give myself a maximum of 3 priorities for any given day. I create a master list of meals and recipes that I can just select things from. I've recently set days of the week for things like my workouts, my self-care routine, certain chores, personal grooming and like doing my nails and stuff like that, just so that I'm not coming to the day and being like, I'm not sure whether I should wash my hair or not, because it sounds really inconsequential, but they waste your time and energy making those little decisions. Learn to just deal with direct communication. Okay, so naturally, I'm a bit of a people pleaser. And this is something I'm trying to unlearn because it's a bit of an unhealthy coping mechanism and I can do better. But it is one of the default settings that I end up going back to when I'm a bit stressed or overwhelmed. And it can mean that I end up overthinking things, reading between the lines and thinking of subtext of what people are saying. And while that's really helpful in that it makes me an empathetic person, helps me be good at my job as a doctor, it can also be really, really unhelpful for me because it just means that I'm like stressed and thinking a lot more about other people's wants and needs than my own. And so
Once I learned to just deal with direct communication and communicate, say what I mean, communicate my wants and needs and my expectations and my standards, set boundaries, life got a whole lot more simple. Never underestimate the power of meeting up with some friends and having some time, just belly laughing and catching up. It is good for the soul, and you will never regret the time that you spend enjoying with your friends. It can be both easy and tempting to overpromise, especially if you're a people pleaser, but in the long run this just leads to frustration, stress, disappointment for both you and the other people involved. It's always better to underpromise and overdeliver, and it will leave both you and the other people happier in the long run. Learn what self-sabotage is and how it shows up in your life, and then you can learn how to stop doing it. For me, it's showed up in my life in several different ways, but an example is that sometimes when I'm getting close to the end of a project, I will find other things to get excited by and stop myself from finishing a project and seeing it through to completion. This is an example of self-sabotage, and it stops you in your tracks. It stops you getting the results in life that you want to get. So now that I understand what self-sabotage is, I can recognize it and stop myself from doing that. Get in the habit of unpacking your handbag or your case as soon as you get home, because otherwise it's just going to sit in the corner of your room looking sad and causing a mess. And nowadays I actually keep a box inside my wardrobe with all the things that I'd normally keep in my handbag ready to put straight in my bag. Things like hand cream, chewing gum, pens, my purse, the kind of things that I just want to grab and go. Don't put it down, put it away. Get into the habit of creating a home for every little knick-knack in your house and actually putting those things away when you're done with them. This will mean that you live in a much more organised home. You're having less time decluttering, less time having to look for things, and you can spend your time in the evenings and weekends just relaxing and enjoying your space rather than spending time tidying up after past you that's just left everything like a tornado around your house. It really does work. Don't put it down, put it away. One thing that I wish I could go back to past me and help her understand really deeply at an earlier point in life is that your worth is not determined by how you look or how much you weigh. A lesson that I wish I had learnt earlier in life was to be able to not take myself too seriously. I think when I was younger, I was a bit of a perfectionist, so that's kind of my default state, and maybe I had a bit of low self-esteem, and I felt like if I showed myself up as being wrong about things, that it would make me look stupid. I always had this feeling that I needed to be right. And I also wasn't able to see the funny side of things so often. I would take offense when people would, make fun of me. Being around Vince and his family, they are the kind of people that just don't take life too seriously. They're able to laugh at themselves. They're able to be wrong about things and see things from a different perspective. And I've really tried to allow myself to be a bit more like that as well, because life's easier when you don't take yourself so seriously. This is a lesson I wish I had learnt much earlier. When you're working, work. When you're resting, rest. Don't confuse the two. Don't spend your time at work wishing that you were off, relaxing, looking forward to your holiday, getting distracted, procrastinating, not doing what you need to do. And then don't spend your rest time worrying about work, thinking about going back, ruining your holiday because you're worried about all the work that you've got to do and all the tasks that are waiting for you. The secret to having high confidence and self-esteem is very simple. Showing yourself that you're worthy and that you're capable. So showing myself that I'm worthy, for example, eating the foods that I really like to eat, taking myself on adventures, spending time with the people that I really love and that make me feel amazing, hiring a personal trainer, hiring a coach. All of these things make me feel like I deserve to live a good life. Showing myself that I'm capable is very simple. It's finding the things that I really want to do that may be difficult and actually doing them. Showing up, doing the work, and doing what I say I will do. These, my friends, are the keys to confidence. Imposter syndrome is never a sign to quit. Whenever I've had phases of imposter syndrome, it always feels like I'm not good enough and that everyone else around me has their stuff together and I don't. And it feels like that means I should quit. But in reality, what it actually is a sign that I'm working on something that is important to me and that I'm leveling up. Imposter syndrome is a sign that you're on the right track.
The sooner you can learn to stop running late, the better. This was a really bad habit of mine when I was younger, and I used to be that person that would always try and fit one more thing in before I left the house. I would just arrive to things late, stressed, chaotic. I would then guilt myself because I knew that it was rude to the other person and I knew it was disrespectful of their time, but for some reason I just had it in my head that I run late and that's just me. As soon as I read Atomic Habits, this all changed for me because I started telling myself identity-based statements, and I used the one, I am the kind of person who arrives to places early. All of my habits started aligning to make that be the case for me because I told myself I was that kind of person.
If you're going to do something, commit to it wholeheartedly. Be a complete yes or a no. Don't be a maybe. If you're going to do something, put your heart and soul into it. We used to have this coach at my old running club who would say, give everything you've got in the moment. This is your 1 hour to leave it all on the track.
One of the most important lessons we can ever learn in life is taking self-responsibility. One of the hallmarks of becoming an adult is learning how to take ownership of the things that we have control over, the things that we can impact, the things that we can influence, and actually taking action on those things. So for example, in my aesthetics clinic, I was having occasional no-shows, so people that would book appointments and not turn up for them. So how did I take responsibility for this? I made a policy that people had to pay a consultation fee to make them have some skin in the game and actually make them want to turn up. And I also put lots of work into making sure that they understood the value of the consultation and why it was a really good thing that they should be looking forward to coming to.
I don't want to be another one of those people, but honestly, weight training has changed my life. I'm hypermobile, so I get injured really easily, and I've always been told I need to be doing strength training regularly, but honestly, I used to hate it. So a couple of years ago, I hired a personal trainer and worked with her for a few months so that I could learn how to do all the movements safely with good form and know how much weight to use. And then now I go to the gym and do it on my own. Honestly, I feel so much better for doing strength training a couple of times a week. I feel strong, I feel capable, and I am injury-free for the first time in my life for a significant period of time. It feels so good, and I just wish I had started earlier in life.